Good afternoon, everybody. It is 3 p.m. on a Thursday, which means it's time for another creative communication. I am your host, storyteller, and creative Joey Medea. This is episode number 57, and this is the 14 must read books if you would like to get a really good understanding of the history of the film and television industry. So, gonna roll the 13-second opening, come back, and jump right in. I don't think this is gonna take an hour today. So, enjoy and welcome. All right. So the first two books are by the same author. They're big books. They're excellent reading. The first one is called Down and Dirty Pictures by Peter Biskind. Now, actually, this is the later one. So if you want to read them in chronological order, read Easy Riders and Raging Bulls first. But Down and Dirty Pictures is the one I'm going to talk about the first, because this is really the birth of the indie film industry. So it's the rise and fall due to a lot of factors that Biskind goes into in great detail. Rise and fall of American independent cinema in the 1990s, mostly centered around Miramax and Sundance. So if you want to know about Sundance, how it was founded, how it worked, Robert Redford famously said, I remember reading this, I think in Esquire magazine when I was in high school, and I never forgot it. If you don't have enemies, you don't have character. So Robert Redford could be a very polarizing guy. Of course, anytime you're talking about Miramax, you're talking about the Weinsteins. One thing I've learned 35 years doing this work and being an educator and writer about it as well, people fall out of favor, but they're part of the conversation historically. So to erase them completely, it's the same thing with taking down statues or any of these other controversial things. Everybody must stand and do what is right for them and their own convictions, but it is a part of history. Miramax is also important because it constellates around so many people, Tarantino and Kevin Smith and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and so they're trying to navigate this Hollywood system. Becomes very interesting. It also speaks about Steven Soderbergh, the Coen brothers. So definitely a read if you want to get a handle to, of course, to see where we are now and all the many things that the industry is going through now. We need to know where we came from. So that would be a good place to start. Then this one, this is very cool. This is late 80s through the 1980s. Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, of course, Easy Rider, Peter Fonda, Jack Nicholson was involved in that movie, of course, Dennis Hopper. I just finished a really good book. I did an episode a couple months ago called What Am I Reading? Is a really good biography of Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson, of course, is so tied up in this whole era from late 60s through the 1980s. But from a director's perspective, this is a time of unprecedented creative freedom where directors were really given a lot of trust, in some cases a lot of rope to hang themselves. And so we're talking about Martin Scorsese, we're talking about Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Brian De Palma, you name it, the great. And again, this was a time before the studios found a way to take a lot of that power back, and that led to the pushback that gave rise then to the indies. So definitely these two books and companionship are very good. Also talked about George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. This book goes into good detail about how Jaws and Star Wars specifically changed the Hollywood business model. Several of these books do that because as creatives, we need to know the business end as well. Even if we have really good agents, managers, so on and so forth, we still need the knowledge ourselves to check those things against. Now, this book, Riding the Alligator, Strategies for a Career in Screenplay Writing. So those first books, kind of an overview. That would be a really good place to start. If you were going to do this as an academic exercise, say over the course of, I don't know, a couple of years to get through these 14 books, possibly 18 months or so, you're going to go from a more general thing. Now we're going to take you into screenwriting from the point of view of a screenwriter, director, and producer. So wearing numerous hats as Penn does, and Penn's been on the show twice. Check it out. He also gave a very good endorsement of the second edition of Every Day is a Story All Its Own. I just want to show you here. Forgot to have it right by my side. It is out now. It was an Amazon new release, top 5 bestseller in several categories in theater and production, acting, and so on and so forth. So there it is, available on Amazon and all of that if you want to pick up that book. Okay, so Riding the Alligator, emotional truth, not formulas. Penn and I see eye to eye on so many things. Authenticity is very important. Passion is very important. It's not formulas or a rigid screenplay structure. It is your emotional investment in the story that you're trying to tell. Of course, take creative risks, embrace uncertainty during the writing process. So he talks about navigating and being uncertain, creating that map, laying down the roadways. It's a wonderful extended metaphor. Definitely check it out. And of course, his personal stories. He wrote and directed Moll Flanders. He wrote and directed Houdini for TNT with Jonathan Sheck in it. Of course, wrote Robin Hood, but was also involved a little bit in the directing, but definitely in the editing of that. He works closely with Sylvester Stallone. Definitely check out Penn's work. And if you're so kind to both of us, go back and look at those interviews if you haven't seen them. So screenplay is an interesting thing. I've been a screenwriter for a long time, 6 or 7 screenplays out there. Some in some very big hands, read by the right people at the right times, producers, actors, directors, so on and so forth, won some awards. It's a sticky, slippery slope, a sticky wicket, if you were. So this is a very good book. This is by Daryl G. Nickens, Doing It for Money, The Agony and Ecstasy of Writing and Surviving in Hollywood. Screenwriters are very dramatic. Like I have another one that we're going to follow up with, Tales from the Script. A lot of whining and complaining, although they're making actually pretty good money if they're in these books. But it's edited by Daryl G. Nickens for the Writers Guild Foundation. So there is some pedigree there, if that means anything to you, if you're into that. But he talks to, over the course of the book, 48 professional screenwriters. So you get a really good, there are some overlaps between this and Tales of the Script. I would do Doing It for the Money. There's a little less of that taint, a little bit of that whiny, cynical darkness that I find in Tales from the Script. This is from the point, it covers agents, it covers contracts, rewrites, networking, freelancing. This one does too, although this is, let me tell you, mostly all the terrible things that have happened to me. This one, again, a little more even. Artistic and business. Of course, we have to wear both hats as creatives. That's the whole point in this Every Day is a Story series. Every guest that I've had, and I've had about, I don't know, about 40 guests now, I guess, in the 57 episodes, 35, 40 guests, talk about the artistic, talk about the business. They talk about important things like imposter syndrome, which we're all faced with, no matter how successful you are, no matter where you are in your career, there's a little bit of that because the business can be very vicious. So there you go, Doing It for the Money. This one, I pretty much, many of Hollywood's top screenwriters. So you got Frank Darabont in here. You got Shane Black in here. You got William Goldman in here. You got Ron Shelton. You have very many big names here. It goes on and on. If you want to know more, John Carpenter, Nora Ephron, Bruce Joel Rubin, and Paul Mazursky. Just watch Paul Mazursky while directing Seize the Day with Robin Williams, which never had a theatrical release, was only on PBS. But it's very good. You should check it out, based on the 1956, I believe, 1954, 56, but I believe 56 Saul Bellow novel, Seize the Day. Larry Cohen is in here. So definitely check it out. There's also a DVD, I think I have it, or a documentary where you can watch these folks talking on camera about these things. Again, they say there's no correct process, and I've done plenty of episodes about that, analytical and intuitive, not both. It's a dance. Everybody has to use their own way. Some people swear by formulas. I do. That's the Sid Field school, the Robert McKee school, but also knowing where to get away from it or if that doesn't work for you. I'm big on the 3-act model. You'll encounter all of those things in here. So that is the first 5 of the 14 books here. So we are moving right along. Director Sidney Lumet here, making movies. Did I skip one? I'm very sorry. I have William Goldman's. Nope, there it is. I saved it for a little later. I'm going to go back to screenwriter William Goldman. I'm moving on to directors now, making movies with Sidney Lumet. And every stage of the filmmaking he covers in this book, from the script to the final mix. He explains how every creative decision must serve the story. That's gold. That's a massive takeaway. Worth saying again, every creative decision must serve the story. Can't be about the needs of the actor. Can't be needs about the director or this one thing that the writer really loved because it was a scene from their childhood. I'm preparing to do some things with Robin as Robin Williams, and as I'm going through the journey, I'm reading some excellent things and watching all the movies and all of that. There was a much different ending to A Dead Poets Society, and it was something very personal to the writer, because the teacher that John Keating, Robin Williams' part, is modeled on. Something happened to him, and it just didn't fit. Robin didn't agree with it. Peter Weir, the director, didn't agree with it, and the screenwriter was very disappointed. But it made sense for the story. So that's what that is. Every creative decision must serve the story. Of course, filmmaking is a collaborative art form built on trust. I've greatly expanded that section in the second edition of Every Day is a Story, a handbook for writers, actors, and directors, to talk about the different directing styles and to talk about, of course, I favor a very collaborative style and the ways to do that. So for those of you who are not familiar with Sidney's work, received more than 50 Academy Award nominations, films that he was in the helm of. Nominated by the Directors Guild of America for Best Director 7 times. Let me find the here. No, I'll give you some chapter titles. The Director, the Best Job in the World. I think so. I love directing. I think it's also one of the hardest jobs in the business, film, TV, theater. One of the hardest. Are writers necessary? The script. You'll get a good answer there, writers out there. Actors, can an actor really be shy? Well, yeah, Robin Williams is a very, very good example of that. So just a wonderful, wonderful book. Look up his biography and you'll see he made tremendous movies. So here's another one, Martin Scorsese, A Journey. Now, this is by Mary Pat Kelly, a Catholic. Martin Scorsese, of course, a devout Catholic to this day, heavily informs his work, which as a lapsed Catholic, but still finding myself because of the rituals, familial more than theological. This is very important, and it's all over the place, of course, in his work. So that's Martin Scorsese there. In-depth conversations with him and Mary Pat Kelly about his career, his creative philosophy, his wins, losses, Last Temptation of Christ, and that journey is some of the best things. But of course, when you're talking about Martin Scorsese, you're talking about Mean Streets and Raging Bull, Gangs of New York, so on and so forth, Goodfellas, and so just great stuff. Taxi Driver, he and Harvey Keitel, he and Joe Pesci, he and Robert De Niro, of course, almost inseparable. So this is a really good, I quote from this book or reference it many times in EDS. All of these books that are on the table today have a presence in Every Day is a Story, at least in the second, if not in both editions, but mostly in the second edition. Italian neorealism, right? So if you've seen Scorsese's movies, you know exactly what that is. Italian neorealism to classic Hollywood cinema. He could do it all. Martin Scorsese, fascinating. His opinions about digital filmmaking, of course, are very interesting. His opinions about these come, I think, possibly after this book, but about the move to digital over analog film. So definitely check this out and get to know the man behind those iconic films. This is one of my favorite books because it's one of my favorite platforms since the time I was a kid. So my dad subscribed to HBO almost from the first day that you could get HBO. So I remember the early Robin Williams. I remember all of it. This is a really terrific book. It came out just a couple of years ago. Felix Gillette and John Copeland. Let me tell you about it. I think it's okay. So I first read it in May of 2023, and I think I may have pre-ordered it. Because I was so excited to read it. So this is excellent. How HBO rose, how it absolutely transformed TV. This is how, you know, TV always had such a stigma. Serious film actors did not want to do TV. Now, you know, through the cable platforms and so on and so forth, that has really absolutely changed. All of the biggest names do TV series, and they seem to really enjoy it. So for me, and of course, everybody has their favorite HBO series, but Sopranos, Deadwood, Boardwalk Empire, The Wire, Game of Thrones, till it wasn't, but now it seems to be making a comeback with House of the Dragon and all the different spin-offs and all. Also, Succession, one of my all-time favorite shows, but I would say Deadwood's in my probably top 10. Sopranos, the early seasons of Game of Thrones. I love Boardwalk Empire, Steve Buscemi, so on and so forth. HBO really challenged the traditional network model, and it really gave rise to what was called prestige TV, which opened that door to the big name actors, the big name directors and writers moving into television, where they were always squarely just in film. So very culturally significant, the rise of HBO. There's also some more, you know, they were involved in some very big scandals. There were accusations of sexism, so on and so forth. But you'll also see, like, it's really a great book. So it'll talk about David Chase and his writing room. And Tanya and I, my wife, Tanya, for those of you who don't know, Tanya and I just finished the 7 seasons of Mad Men. We had watched the first 4 seasons, abandoned it after a while, went back, rewatched those, just finished, I think probably about a month ago. And of course, Matt Weiner was a protege of David Chase's, and he ran his writing room exactly like David Chase's. Bring in your stories. We'll find out a way to fit them. We want the authenticity of real stories within our fabricated framework. So again, this is an excellent book. Again, this is I guess you could call this a case study if we were doing this academically. So this could very well be maybe the last one that you would read if you're going to do this academically. Of course, you would group It's Not TV along with the Peter Biskind books. They're outsiders, but have a very good knowledge. But the Jaws logbook by Carl Gottlieb, Peter Benchley, who wrote the novel, was involved with the film, of course. And here's a great Peter Biskind, Easy Riders, Raging Bulls. The making of story is nearly as good as the film itself. Behind the scenes account of the production is riveting. So Jaws, of course, won 3 Oscars, was, well, the highest grossing film of its time, probably still up there all along. So Carl Gottlieb is in the film. He was also a writer involved in it. If you're into clash of actor egos, of course, there's the famous thing between Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw was very upset because it screwed up his taxes and it cost him a fortune because they were there. They were there filming for so long there in Massachusetts that people in the town, it started to sour. Right? Like what stinks after 3 days, mechanical sharks, film crews, those kinds of guests. So there you go. So this is good stuff. I mean, it's a quick read. Jaws just celebrated, I think, its 50th anniversary. So it was back out. So this is a good time to pick that one up. A producer, Linda Obst. Some of these names I may not be getting exactly correct, but Linda Obst, I believe, is the name. This is interesting as we're looking at trends. So today we're looking at AI and how that's really being a disruptor. Digital technology really disrupted the business because DVDs were such a big part of how a movie made its money after its release. It was very important for distributors, so on and so forth. And digital really started to muck with that. Plus, Linda Ups, she worked closely with Nora Ephron and other people. Let's see here. She also wrote the bestseller "Hello, He Lied." She used to be an editor for the New York Times Magazine. Produced more than 16 feature films. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Contact, Fisher King, Robin Williams. That's on my list, of course, to watch that. Adventures of Babysitting, Hope Floats. Ooh, what a tough movie. Hope Floats, I watched it once and never watched it again. And of course, Nora Ephron favorite, Sleepless in Seattle, and This Is My Life. So there's a very good book about so if you want to know about streaming, global audiences, who can be a villain when the markets open up to China and Russia and they have more movie theaters actually than we have, more screens. You can't make the Russians and the Chinese bad guys all the time. So it's very interesting how that was handled all through business model. Of course, how social media began to change things, how new viewing habits came in, and we're watching this develop. Matt Damon let slip, or I guess purposely told people about Netflix saying, cell phones have to be in movies and you have to repeat plot points. I remember watching the final season of Stranger Things not long ago, and it was just, why are they telling and not showing? Why are they over explaining? Why are they explaining things numerous times? Well, Netflix believes now people are multitasking, which is horrible. As a lifelong creative, as a lifelong storyteller, that people are multitasking instead of sitting down and watching a show. I think binge watching was very cool. When we watch a new series and we stay up extra late because we want to see what happens in the first episode of the next season, when we had to wait an entire summer, I don't know how we did it. It was just a different culture. It was a different time. So this is a good book here, Sleepless in Hollywood, Tales from the New Abnormal in the Movie Business. So we are probably in the newer abnormal or uber abnormal in today. So let's move right along here. I think now it is time for William Goldman. William Goldman has a second book that I haven't read yet, so I'm not going to share it today, but I will tell you, it's called Which Lie Did I Tell? And I just haven't had time to get to it. There's just been so many other things. But William Goldman, Adventures in the Screen Trade, a personal view of Hollywood and screenwriting. And that's very, he's featured in all those books, the Daryl Nickens book, of course. One of the great masters of American screenplays. So it's funny and it's honest and it's biting and it's everything you expect from the guy who, of course, wrote The Princess Bride, the novel. A lot of really good behind the scenes stories. Now, this particular edition that I have has the full screenplay of Butch Cassidy, not Bruce Cassidy, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. If you kind of want to see perfection on the page, if you want to break it down, if you want to use it to test out Blake Snyder's Save the Cat and all the different things, Freitag's, layout, dramatic structure, all of those different kinds of things that I talk about, how the 3-act structure works, you could do that with an absolutely terrific screenplay. Of course, the film was directed by George Roy Hill. There are some great stories in here. Goldman had no training as a screenwriter, didn't want to write screenplays. He wrote an experimental novel that a well-to-do A-list actor in Hollywood mistook as some kind of innovative screenplay. That's the way the door opened. But once he got in, he had to capitalize, and he sure did. Talking about with Nora Ephron and Carl Woodward when they were trying to write All the President's Men and what those interviews were like. So this is really this, I think, in the HBO book, I think are the most fun. The Peter Biskind books are very, very eye-opening as well. So Goldman's famous observation in here: nobody knows anything. That's true. Can't catch lightning in a bottle. Today's hit writer, director, actor could be tomorrow's. Like, what the heck happened there? And their phone number gets lost for a little while. He says that talent matters, but it has to be paired with persistence, adaptability, and luck. Great story in here. Steve McQueen reads one of his screenplays. So Goldman goes in with his agent, and McQueen goes, yeah, it's really good. But do you know what it needs? It needs a scene with the cowboy next to a fire underneath a sky full of stars. And Goldman's about to say that scene's already in there. And his agent puts his hand on Goldman's forearm and he says, "You're absolutely right, Mr. McQueen, and we guarantee you that scene will be in there." So it's that kind of really good stuff. Hope I whet your appetite for that. Here's another two books. This is Robert Evans, the great producer. David Mamet's Wag the Dog. Dustin Hoffman basically plays Robert Evans. Let me see if I can find Evans in his big glasses, and you'll probably recognize exactly what I mean. It's a little small, but you can see. Dustin, I want the credit. What exactly do you do for the president, Connie? So the kid stays in the picture. He started as an actor. He pivoted. He wound up producing. Fascinating guy. I mean, you want to talk about funny and honest and cursing all over the place, but knew everybody. This dude knew Henry Kissinger. When The Godfather was up for Oscars, Best Picture, and so on and so forth, as Robert Evans was trying to resurrect Paramount, he was a nervous wreck, and he called Kissinger, and he said, "You got to come to New York. You got to come to the Oscars." He said, "I'm going to China tomorrow. I can't." And he said, "Well, please do it, Henry." And Henry did it. And Henry went to bat to him for some of his other schemes. For Malta when they were making Popeye. So Robert Evans is kind of responsible for that, but also Chinatown and Rosemary's Baby, Cotton Club. That's fascinating, especially if you're at all interested in what might be a more complicated truth behind the Son of Sam, possibly multiple killers, cults, and all. Robert Evans comes up in that. So I revisited this book while I was reading Murray. I can't remember his last name, but it's called The Ultimate Evil. Maury Terry. Very, very interesting stuff if you want to try it out. But of course, famous cocaine busts and all of that. The story continues. Oh, and also he was a great raconteur. He hung out with Warren Beatty, and he hung out with Jack Nicholson. They got into a lot of trouble in a fun way. He and Jack Nicholson especially. So I love Nicholson. I love stories about Nicholson. He's a completely complicated, often contradictory person who mythologized a lot of his own life along the way. After his, my mom is my sister, really lies, not anything funny or inappropriate. But anyway, The Fat Lady Sang, Robert Evans, and this is about his stroke. Here's the guy. I don't know, out there, that may remind you of somebody else as a young man who's prevalent in our society, but I'll leave that to you. But look at that there. But yeah, he went through a stroke. He was a great, all his different paramours, and boy, there's a long list of women who were on his arm. So if you're into that, he also did Love Story, also did Marathon Man, Urban Cowboy. Urban Cowboy stories that was right around. There's an overlap between Urban County and Popeye. Those are great stories. So this is the second part of his life there. So you definitely want to check that out. We look nothing alike. Okay, so there's those, and then I just have one more for you, and I'll tell you. Okay, why do I have this book? Who is Michael Ovitz? Well, of course, CAA, the great, powerful, one of the most powerful agencies. They were really responsible for packaging talent, really, really cutthroat negotiations, building relationships. This was another guy that constellated with Henry Kissinger, Council on Foreign Relations. Because I have so many interests in all this, Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Club of Rome, Bilderberg, all of that different kind of stuff fascinates me because they make, I'm so sorry about that for those of you who are wearing headphones. I apologize. I dropped the book right on there. And he let slip out of pure ego. I'm hanging out with these guys and they're talking about how they're manipulating the world and the stock markets and wars and all of that. That was a very interesting sort of independent confirmation about what goes on with some of those things. So it's read. How could it not be read? Ostentatious. You're going to see it on your shelf from across the room. You'll know exactly where it is. They were at the forefront of when David Letterman wanted to change networks and what that all looked like, which I believe Letterman later had some regrets about the way that was done. It's interesting from a human relations standpoint, or human beings. Who is Michael Ovitz? Michael Ovitz is a guy who really came up from nothing and never was able to move past that. I saw that a little in the Weinsteins and their meanness and their manipulations, and there are some, as a matter of fact, I was freelancing as a consultant for a immersive experience production company for about 18 months, just shy of 2 years. And I was given a reading list, and I was supposed to read this book, which I did, and of course the Peter Biskind book, and specifically because of the Weinsteins, because this person had worked for them and had been in the room, and thought that I could learn some positive things from these people. As it turns out, I did not, and I wound up leaving that situation. So again, packaging talent, negotiating, building relationships, but also when nothing is ever enough because you can't move past the circumstances that you were in when you were a kid. That I found fascinating because this guy was absolutely at the top of his game and very innovative. The influence that agents and managers have on what movies and TV get made, of course, that gets super involved and super important. Good Will Hunting may never have gotten made if Robin Williams didn't have to sign on. And those are the kinds of things. Michael Ovitz happened to be Robin Williams' manager. So that's what I have for you. These are the 14 books. We did it in just shy of 32 minutes. That's fine. Go ahead, check that out. Again, if you're interested in my work and where the basis a lot of this comes, Every Day is a Story All Its Own, a handbook for writers, actors, and directors, revised and expanded 2nd edition. You can pick that up or contact me. I'll be happy to autograph one for you. It'll cost you, I think, a little more than $5 in shipping and handling, and the cost of the book. So we'll just, before I sign off, hello, everyone who watched today. Thanks for what you're doing. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you do, and you have a great day. I'm going to do both of those things, I promise you. Part of the reason why I did this episode today was Alexia Meloki. Alexia Meloki is going to be on the show. She's a producer. She has her own production company. She wrote a book called Hollywood Money Trap. So I wanted to set all of that up for you, get you thinking about those kinds of things. She has great case history. She was there. She saw it all. My book review is out. You can see that on New Mystic Reviews if you want to, about that book. But I think any serious creative in the film industry should read that book. It's a case book. It's a handbook. It has a glossary of terms. You'll know what to look for, what you're doing. And of course, I invite you to watch the show next week. And then I'm going to come back in August with some other how-to episodes, so more creative communication. So have a great day, and I hope you join us next week. If you like this, please like it, share it, subscribe, do all of those kind of things, which I'm always terrible about asking people to do. But thank you.